This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not reflect the opinions of the parent network or any of its other entities. They might not even reflect the opinions of the podcast host. The truth is out there. Here, we're just talking about things. Do your own research.
The jack of hearts will break me. Let's leave me like Judas, baby. Does he ever go through your mind?
All right. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon or evening, whatever time you're listening to this, much later. But welcome to Blurred Lines. I'm glad to have everybody here watching. Before we jump into things, I want to say a great big welcome to Jukebox and Evolution. Guys, thanks for joining me this morning.
Glad
Round
to be
two.
here.
Round two.
Actually, round three. You missed round two.
You missed two, man.
Oh, did I?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you did.
Two was a banger. We talked about the Alabama white thing.
Oh, I was referring to us just doing a show before this, but all right.
Oh,
And-
were
And
you?
the Momo Monster.
Oh, the Momo Monster, right? Yeah, can't forget the Momo
Yeah.
Monster.
Yeah,
All right,
we just launched consistently and consistent right before this.
that's right. Congratulations, man. How'd that
Thank
go?
Thank you. It
Great.
went great. It went
Yeah,
great.
it's a lot, exactly like I thought I was going to.
Very cool, man. Very cool. All right. Well, before we get into this whole situation, let's give a nod to the sponsors. First of all, shout out to Black Label Chronometers. Black Label Chronometers, the CEO and craftsman there, Ryan Babb. What he does is he takes old vintage records and he turns them into clocks. But it's not just a clock they turns it into. They are pieces of art. And yep, as you can see, Jukebox, every detail handcrafted, painstakingly handcrafted, and you can see it's beautiful. Anything you can conceptualize, he'll create it. So check out Black Label Chronometers. You find them on Facebook, online, web everything. And if you use Shank 15, that's SHANK 15, you will get a nice discount. Also, check out myvibe.com. Myvibe.com, they have these nice smelling salts, give you a pickup in the middle of the day. Again, code Shank15. And I also want to give a shout out to Redemption brand cannabis products. I will be doing some things with them. Has no connection to the fact that my name is Sean Shank, not at all. Yeah, so that's how they found me.
Well, that's exciting.
Oh, yeah. I'll have more details on that later, guys.
Okay.
But then also msh.com. That's Meat So Horny. My dudes at Meat So Horny have some of the best spices on the market today. So check them out. The grand opening is actually happening in Indianapolis this weekend.
Nice.
So yeah. A good bunch of guys down there.
Is that Jacoby? Is that Jacoby?
That is Jacoby's company.
All right.
So, all right, guys, lizard people. We're going to talk. This is round 3 with the cryptid. This is considered kind of maybe bridging from lizard people from the last podcast. But before we get into this, all right, and I know you guys are my friends. Jukebox and Evolution, you guys are my friends. But I would be remiss if I didn't ask you guys some questions before we get started. Are you guys ready?
I
All
guess.
This is very important.
Okay.
All right. So first, and these questions are for both of you. Do either of you have the desire to eat insects, human flesh, or anything with a carapace?
No.
I have eaten insects, but only because I was asked to try them.
Who asked you to try them?
You know those like dried centipedes and shit that was seasoned and everything, in school, and you try them, and they're like the chocolate covered ants and stuff like that.
Really? You think spice makes a difference? Okay. All right. You're very questionable right now. Question 2.
I am reptilian. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I'm a reptile.
Okay. Well, we'll find out here. Question 2. This again for both of you. If frightened, do you have a tail that snaps off to distract potential threats from following you?
No.
Yes. I got a very vibrant ginger tail that snaps off whenever I get bit. No, I do not have a tail.
All right. Here's the third qualifier.
Okay.
Do your eyelids blink sideways or up and down?
They blink up and down, but
and
not
down.
sideways.
All right. So now here's a legitimate question to ask you guys.
Uh-huh.
How many people currently in the United States, and I'm talking, like the United States, not North America, just the United States, do you think believe in a government that is controlled by lizard people? And we'll start with evolution.
Yeah, our government people are a little different. They don't see things the way we see them as citizens. They have a different type of outlook and a different way of speaking, a different way of analyzing things, and they seem to not ever come to a result that works for everyone.
Oh no, they're worthless. But if you had to put a number,
like a
on how many
percentage.
people, no, not a percentage. I'm talking straight up numbers, number of Americans that believe that our government is run by lizard people.
15%.
Okay,
That's not
15%.
I'd say like 48%.
Okay. When I started investigating this, I was with you guys. My numbers were way higher than what this one poll, and it was a nationwide poll.
Mm-hmm.
But they discovered that at least with this one poll, 12 million Americans believe. All right, now it's 4% of our population.
What's our population?
Our population is up in 390 million or something like that.
Okay.
But here's the thing, guys. 12 million people. Like you don't compare it to the rest of the amount of folks that live in this country.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because that's a bit it takes away from the fact that collectively 12 million people believe that our government, 12 million literally believe that we are governed by lizard folks.
Wow.
How I'm just going to put it out to you guys because I've had a minute to sit with these numbers. What do you think about that?
I think that says a lot about a good number of people as far as how different they think the government is.
Right.
And of course, we all know that they're hiding a lot from us. They're not telling us everything. They're not telling us anything. So if they were snapping their tails off every time they got scared of something and running and generating another one, of course we wouldn't see it because they would hide it from us. But I just think that in every scenario, you're going to have some type of percentage of people who will believe or think that things are a certain way.
Okay. What about you, Jukebox?
I think that there's too much out there that we've seen to not believe that it's possible, at least. There's plenty of evidence to at least, and I wouldn't necessarily say it's concrete evidence, but there's enough people that have encountered situations that have no connection that are similar situations to say that it's not possible. And our universe is so vast, so to think that there's not a chance that there's some other civilization living here, it was stupid to not believe that. There's so much uncharted territory that we haven't touched on our soil or in our waters to rule out that exists.
Okay. And see, that is the perfect lead-in for what I'm going to read next, because this is from an amalgamation of digging that I've done. Now, I will tell you something. This is one of the things that makes me question Google. All right.
Okay.
And we know that Google has been in trouble for, putting algorithms out and just blatantly hiding, different pieces of information that people are searching for. You would not believe how difficult it is to find any information on this.
Hmm.
It is, I would say, sparse, not even accurate for how little is out there, even though you have entire threads on, X and Insta talking about this stuff with imagery and everything else. You try and Google it, it's very difficult to find. Okay. So first, that's one thing that immediately made me question, like, if they're trying to hide it, that's a problem. Right.
Mhm.
But let me read this to you. And this actually touches on what Jukebox just said about the universe. So the basis of the reptilian elite theory is that in ancient times, a group of advanced reptiles from,
Mhm.
the Alpha Draconis star system came to Earth and infiltrated the governments of the ancient civilizations in order to control all humans and enslave them, and became their rulers. And they also bred with the humans to form crossbreeds so the DNA can infiltrate the minds of humans. All right. Now, why that little snippet is important is one of the theories that is out there is that they are using mass mind control, almost like, did you guys ever see that movie? I think was it called Them? The one with Roddy Piper and
Where they
okay.
wear glasses and
Yes.
sunglasses show them. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
seen it.
That. Okay. So great film. I thought Piper was amazing in that thing. But nonetheless, there was a lot of stuff in that movie where it's almost like, the theory that the evildoers, of conspiracy world, they have to tell us these things so karmically they can get away with it. Like that's one of the universal laws. And that movie is one of the theories they put that out there so they can get away with it. And then there was the TV show V. Do you guys remember that from the 1980s?
Yeah.
I remember V.
Yeah, right. So it's kind of weird that stuff is out there, but the idea is that there's this mass hypnosis, and a lot like in the movie with Piper, we can't see them for what they are. But the Great Awakening that is supposed to be happening as we speak, that's why more and more we're seeing these images pop up, and then all of a sudden, before the eclipse that happened, we did the eclipse episode. They said that all of a sudden there's this mysterious disease that's going to come out that people look like demons, right?
Mhm.
But if you look at all the images that they showed, the people look like lizard people. It's the weirdest thing, but
Hmm.
I digress. All right. So infiltrate the minds of humans. Now, with the DNA outside our systems, they can control us by making us dumber, slower, and weaker, therefore easier to control and eat. Now, evidence for this reptilian DNA in us comes from the fact that in the early stages, developing embryos, and I've seen these. I remember being in pre-med seeing stuff like this. The fact that in the early stages, developing embryos look a lot like reptiles. Very
Hmm.
true. And could be classified as such. Furthermore, the oldest parts of our brain, which control most primal function instincts, is called the lizard brain or reptilian brain because it is made of the similar structures that reptilian brains consist of, which are in the brainstem and cerebellum. How's that land with you guys?
You go first, Jukebox. I gotta process this for a minute.
Where is this information coming from?
Okay, so this is a collection between Wikipedia and some other sites that I pulled this information from. But the medical basis for this is if you look at, and anybody can pull this up, the development of the embryos and our basic structures of our brain, where our like instinctual primal, uh, processes come from.
Uh,
That's been around for forever. But if you look at in our embryonic stages, there's a point where we literally look like chameleons with a little curled tail.
Yeah.
Like no bullshit. I remember thinking that when I was a kid studying this stuff, of how strange it was that we looked like lizards.
so
But
the theory is that we come from the reptilians.
that is one of the theories. I'm not saying it's all the theories.
Yeah.
That's one of the theories. And then they, present this as this is possible evidence of it, right? But then there's other weird stuff. And I think we maybe touched on this with the cryptids a little bit, but they say that there's evidence that there's interbreeding, like the reptilian ancestors crossbred other species. Cats is one. Okay. Now, I thought that sounded crazy, but then you look at the eyes of a tiger, you look at the eyes of a lion, and then you look at the eyes of a domestic house cat. All right. If the cat is supposed to be in that same like family, why the hell does it have the sideways profile slit reptilian eye like a crocodile?
See, I don't get. Yeah, that's confusing to me. The whole side eye, like blinking, is creepy as hell.
Yeah, but But the thing is, it's not that it's the correlation causation thing. It could mean nothing, but if you break it down and say, okay, you've got this family of animal over here, right? But then you have this one like very specific genetic anomaly, and then you have stories passed down that these species were intermingled. And then you see the eyes, because like you don't really think about it. A house cat's just a house cat. But it would explain that, factually, if you die, your cat's going to eat your tongue and your eyeballs.
That's crazy.
We've seen that. We've seen it time and time again.
I'm saying, dude.
So let me recap a little bit and then come up to speed on that question that you brought to me in Jukebox. When you mentioned that the lookalike at embryo stage, I immediately thought of an ultrasound image, and yes, it does look like a little reptile wrapped in around its tail or whatever at a certain stage. And then when you got to talking about a cat, I immediately thought about how people refer to them as having 9 lives. And if you throw a cat up in the air, no matter how you do it, they're always going to land on their feet. Those two things kind of stood out with me about the cat, other than the eyes, and the similarity that the infants at the embryo stage is definitely identifiable, especially when you look at ultrasound.
Yeah, it's I just mine's gonna be pretty short, but I mean, just based off what knowledge I could think of, I could see that, but I'd have to look at the images a bit more.
Right. And again, it doesn't mean that it is. I'm not here trying to posit that, this is definitely evidence. It's just one of those things that, and this is something I teach my kids. You guys know I teach college classes. When we talk about argument, argument isn't, in academic sense, isn't negative, right? Where people are mad at each other and they're trying to destroy one another. It's presenting ideas to the other side, discussing them, and the way you win an argument is when the other person goes, huh, and then they start thinking about your side of things, and their mind opens to the possibility. And when you present evidence like this, as an example, Yeah, maybe, maybe not. But if it makes you go, you know what? Like, I do notice that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so it's very interesting.
I do want to throw this out there. We literally just touched base on that on our last show. How you did debates in your school.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
right on.
Yeah.
See, it all ties together, guys.
Yeah.
All right. So, Jukebox, if you would do me a favor and pull up
Yeah.
that first image of the South Carolina
I
lizard
can do
person.
that. Yes, I can.
Okay. So, one of the things that
Well, that's
hurts
not it. That is not it.
the
That was not.
irony.
The here.
Irony.
Yeah, right. I got it. Why is it not?
Yeah,
Hold on,
millions
bear
of
with me.
conservatives around the country went, I knew
What?
it.
I knew it.
I
Let's
done
see here.
told you Barack Obama is a lizard.
It's not wanting to do what I'm wanting to. Yeah, it's not wanting to do what I'm wanting to do. Hold on. You guys, give me a second here. I'm gonna remove the screen and I'm gonna relaunch it. That's what we're gonna do.
Oh
We're
my
gonna
God,
relaunch
that
it.
was
That's
fun.
fine. Yep,
That makes me so
I got
happy.
this. I got this. That is pretty comical. Let's see
Okay.
here. Phone link.
Okay, but
Sometimes
so,
the connection between the phone and the computer will lag, and it causes that to happen. So
gotcha. Well, okay, so what this and I'll set the stage for this first image that's coming up. So one of the challenges with, first of all, conspiracy theorists is, first the moniker that is attached to conspiracy theorists, which was created by the CIA. Like they created it to discredit people that noticed things that the government was doing. Like they literally, it's been proven they came up with it, but it's been turned to conspiracy theory that they came up with the term conspiracy theory. But then there's stuff like this. This is what they say is an image of the South Carolina lizard man.
okay.
Now, obviously, you can look at this. I'm sure, if I look closely enough, you could see a zipper, right? In this. I mean, when you guys see this, what is this smack of to you?
It looks like the show Dinosaur that I watched as a kid.
Okay. What about you, Evolution?
I can't get past the three fingers. It just kind of stands out to me, but it looks like a suit that somebody's wearing.
Looks like a suit.
And
Like some sort of 1950s, like the woman screams and the thing comes in like this, that to me, that's what this smacks of. So yeah, you guys are there, just like
the way that the tail is on the back. I feel like if it was an actual reptilian person, that it wouldn't be arched like that.
Agreed. Not only not arched, but not up by the kidneys, with 2 feet above the asshole.
Right.
Assuming that's where it's at. We don't know. Those people could have their butthole on their shoulder for all we know. Well, you don't know. You don't know lizard.
right.
True.
Evolution. They get all sanctimonious on me. So we see images like this, and this is, people can point at this and laugh and discredit and be like, no, this is crazy. But now if we can pull up that one that you did pull up initially,
the video
with Barack. Now this is, and let's set the stage for this one. This is a video of Barack Obama as speaking engagement. And the focus is going to be on one of his Secret Service people sitting basically upstage and center upstage. From him, you'll notice a bald guy looking back and forth. His head is on the swivel, as it should be as a Secret Service person. But you're going to notice some deformities that are highly, highly suspect from this video.
Okay.
Yep. And I do want to just throw it out there for any audio listeners that you're going to hear silence for about 1:57 seconds. So just be prepared for that. If you're watching this, you'll know why, but the video has no audio behind it. We did that on purpose. So
Mhm.
Oh yeah, definitely need for it. But we'll be talking over it, so it won't be too bad.
I don't know.
audio
I don't know if
listeners.
it'll let you talk over it. We can try.
Oh really? All right.
We can
let's-
try. Let's see.
We can try.
All right.
Okay.
All right, here we go. All right. So
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
okay, good. All right. So for the audio listeners, what we're looking at is Barack Obama's here giving a speech behind the presidential podium, looking very Barack Obama-ish. And
Oh,
that guy
wow.
looks like a lizard person, but that's
He
just
does.
that's a politician. So yeah, and when I first saw this, I thought, oh my God, that must be the guy they're talking about. And no, it's not. Now, as the cameras start to switch angles, they're going to go to a long shot up front. All right, you see in the circle right here, the guy they're focusing on.
Mhm.
All right, yeah, see the one that his head. Now, as they start getting closer, look at his head.
Right. The features.
Look at the features on his head. Evolution, what do you see, my friend?
It looks like there's an ear in the back of his head.
And look at the three. Do you notice the three basically
Yeah.
fins or ridges?
Yes. The ridges at the top of the head too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird too. Like, cause you can see the shimmer of a light off the top of his head, and it looks like there's three distinct kind of lines across the top.
Three distinct
Wow.
lines with almost depressions in the middle.
Uh-huh.
It is very strange. Now, for the audio listeners, we're switching to a side profile with the same security guard, and looking at him from the side, it is almost, I don't know if you want to call it snake-like, but look at the profile of the ears where they're
Yeah.
now look at the front of his face.
Wow.
Yep.
I mean, it's, I'm not trying to say that this is definitive proof, but if you look at the angular, the orbits of his eyes, the
Yes.
distinct, bink, bink,
The
it's
placement is just off.
yeah, and that's one of those things that people that are theorists, conspiracy theorists. I call us dot connectors.
Dot connectors. I like it.
Yeah, you'll see something like that, and you'll go, "Hold on a second." Like, I understand there's all kind of different shapes of human heads and things in the world, but there is a basic shape for all humans. And then you see something like that, and it becomes. Have you guys ever heard of the uncanny valley?
Yes. I've heard. I don't know what it is, but I've heard of it.
Okay, evolution. Does that
I
ring a bell?
No. Uh-uh.
Okay, so the uncanny valley is at some point they think in our evolution, if you believe in evolution, I believe in evolution, he's sitting right here, that there was some sort of thing here on this planet that was not human but had the aspects of a human. And when you see, and people get this when they see androids, that uncomfortable feeling where it's like you have human features and I see stuff that looks like skin, but you're not human. This is very uncomfortable, right? And that's what I would attribute to this guy that we just saw is uncanny valley, because you're looking at it and something again, your lizard DNA, something in the back of your mind is going, this isn't correct. Like, his features are out of place. There's angles where there shouldn't be angles.
Mhm.
Dude, I've shaved my head before. It's a mess. All right. I'm lumpy as fuck. I look like Fred Flintstone. I get it. But I don't have three distinct ridges where I look like one of the monsters from that TV show Dinosaurs years ago.
Yes. Right.
But
But the thing is, like, I can't necessarily say it looks like reptilian, but it definitely doesn't look like human,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
it absolutely with that question. I don't know. What do you think, evolution? I mean, you laid eyes on it.
There was definitely something different going on there, especially when they did the angle from like the back of him.
Mm-hmm.
There was like a lump in the back of his head behind his ear, like a second ear or something like that. And then the way the face came down to like almost a point. And like you mentioned, the eye sockets were definitely different. And then there was like this really hard bone that showed on the side of his face.
This like something you would see out of a Star Trek, like they would put on a facial prosthesis, where they would put makeup over it to designate them as an alien. That's the thing that when I see shit like that, it's like that's something that a makeup artist would. And I've been in films before. I've been in makeup when had the goobs and the things. I've been in zombie films and stuff. I know the process. I know what they do, and how these FX people work. And
trying to pull them up again here. There you go. It's very dark, but yeah.
Yeah, but see, and the thing that gets me is the ear structure. That's the weird one. It's like it all kind of comes back to a point at the ears, and the ears are generally like up here, not down here.
Like the pointed cheekbone that you can kind of it's hard to see on the screen, but there's like a really pointed cheekbone right behind the eye, but it's almost raised too high. But the ear should be closer to that than it is. Right.
It's like it's drawn out.
Right.
Right. It almost looks like a motorcycle helmet if you're gonna like refer to a shape of it.
Yeah. And they have those kind of motorcycle helmets, but yeah.
Yeah. So very interesting. All right. So we've got that one. We have another vid that we can pull up.
You want to do the video or you want to do that map?
Well, do you want to say? I think we should save the map to the end because that's going to be the I think exclamation point for everything.
Okay. You want to talk us through the next video?
Yeah, actually, well, that's got audio with it.
Oh, so yeah, it does.
We can just lay it down now. I'll start us out with it though. This next video that Jukebox is going to play for us it's an Ancient Aliens clip, and it's talking about Antarctica. Now, the thing about Antarctica, and it's going to go into it in the video, but when Admiral Byrd went down there, like he came back and there were questions and things from his diaries and notes and that were highly questionable. There were expeditions that went down there and came back, and some of the people that came back were like, there are things that are monstrous things that we're in danger. There's purportedly a giant, massive hole, and you'll see that in this video that goes beyond the ice wall, and it's actually verdant down there, green and lush. And if you go down into this hole, there's a whole other separate realm. Right. And you say, well, that sounds like crazy cake, Sean, except for the fact that every major country in this world entered into a treaty that does not allow for people to try to go down to Antarctica. Try it. I mean, if you can make it past all the crazy storms and everything that oddly surround that continent, but then if you can make it down there, try to get there and get through the military ships that surround the place.
Right.
You think
Yeah, there's been plenty of talk. I mean, you hear all kinds of people that have reported not being able to get to past certain points.
Oh yeah, they will fuck you up if you try. Like I assure you, if you can get down there, it is a very specific. It's like if I invited somebody into my house, and I wanted to show them my home, but I'm not going to show them like the box under the bed with all the special toys and things. Like, nope, can't go in there. Nope, can't go in there. Nope, can't go in that video collection. That kind of thing. Not saying that I'm that kind of pervert at home. So
whatever. We all knew you were like that. All right, you want to get this video out of the way?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, it is about 4.5 minutes long, but there's audio. So
okay.
All right.
Antarctica is a land of extremes. Nearly 98% of the ground is covered by an ice sheet up to 3 miles thick. A mountain as towering as Japan's Mount Fuji at 12,400 feet would not even break the surface. Temperatures regularly fall below minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit with winds of up to 200 miles an hour. During its peak season, it is home to only 4,000 scientists and military personnel.
Antarctica is the last frontier. It holds our imagination. Old maps that said, "Here be monsters." The last remaining territory on the planet that could have such a designation is Antarctica.
Although it was discovered nearly 250 years ago, scientists have more questions than answers when it comes to this frozen continent. Due to the sheer depth of the ice covering its landmass, the surface of Antarctica is unable to be seen with the naked eye. And ancient astronaut theorists propose that it is not just the geology that is hidden from us. They suggest there is far more human and perhaps non-human activity happening in Antarctica than we've been told.
Something seems to be going on this mysterious continent at the South Pole. And it has been theorized by a number of people that Antarctica is some kind of alien base.
Rumors of extraterrestrial activity in Antarctica have circulated for years. If these accounts are true, and there is, in fact, an extraterrestrial presence in Antarctica today, could it have been there for hundreds or even thousands of years? In July 2018, Linda Moulton Howe interviewed a whistleblower who offered to provide her with classified information regarding Antarctica on the condition that she not reveal his identity. Her source, a retired Navy SEAL who she identifies as Spartan 1, provided her with details of an ancient structure he claims to have visited during his time at the South Pole.
At that time, my rank was First Lieutenant Commander, Naval Special Operations. We were inbound the southeast coast of Antarctica. We were dispatched for, unofficially, was a research reconnaissance mission. Officially, it was to find a certain individual, obtain any information, and bring it back.
What was the date?
August 2003.
According to Spartan 1, when he and his team reached their destination, they encountered a large octagonal structure protruding from the ice. Cautiously, they proceeded to enter it.
At the very top of the first structure that we entered, there was almost 18 feet poking from the ice. The rest of it was hidden under the ice. Each door was the same, anywhere from 18 feet thick to around 30 feet thick. And even though these doors were that thick and that heavy, you could take one finger and push them and they would open. There was no resistance whatsoever. The outside temperature was at least 40 degrees below zero. Once you stepped inside these structures, the temperature was an ambient 68 to 72 degrees.
What about the ceilings, hallways, floors?
It was lighted from the inside, but we could not find the source of light. It was a lime green in color. The walls were lined with what I call hieroglyphics, but nothing of hieroglyphics that I've ever seen in my life.
Could there really be mysterious structures buried at the South Pole? Structures built by an advanced extraterrestrial civilization in our remote past.
Buried underneath the ice in Antarctica could well be stone temple constructions. There could be biological material, remains of beings that lived there and could still be there. It could be the greatest reveal in all of human history.
All right. That's a good video. It's good. What you got, Evolution?
Yeah.
I think besides the obvious of the images themselves and the buildings and structures down there, was the temperature of 68 to 72 degrees on the inside. Okay, so I'm thinking there's no electricity, no heating elements down there because nobody's really been there, right? But somehow there's a technology that is keeping this green light lit and keeping the temperature at a degree that you could live in. Something that's warm in a very, very cold, bitter environment. That's what stood out to me. We don't have that type of technology.
Or we do, we
So-
just don't know it.
Well, I mean, how? Okay, so if something's buried up under all that ice,
Yeah.
and there are no satellites or anything that can really direct at the right angle down up under these inside these places.
Right.
I mean, I don't even think solar would work in that environment. What do you think?
No,
I just-
I think it's intentionally hidden that way too. I mean, as whatever's down there.
Yeah, I agree.
The biggest thing that I kind of took away from that though is that I don't think that this kind of relates to reptilian species though, because wouldn't a reptilian live in like more of a warmer environment, even hidden under the ice, the temperature regulated? That's kind of low for a reptilian.
Well, so we think, but that's the thing. They say aliens, and the first thing your brain goes to is, oh, the grays.
Yeah.
Gray is the little ones with the big eyes, gray skin,
Which are actually robots.
right? But it's we're sitting here talking like we factually know, things about reptilians and things. It would be as if Dracula showed up in your house, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, haha, and you throw garlic at him, and he's like, bro, I fucking love garlic. What is this?
Yeah.
Right.
It says in the book.
Well, we know enough.
it's like,
Well, because you've heard. Okay, so I've seen some other documentaries and interviews of like reptilian exposures, and there's a guy who actually ended up dead in his apartment after exposing that he went down into a cave and there was reptilians and there was actually gunfire. I'm sure you've probably seen this video.
I have seen,
Or know what I'm talking
and
about.
read and heard about.
And
Absolutely.
he does talk about the temperature being hotter. He talks about the smell and how terrible the smell was.
Mhm.
And I feel like these are factors that this guy would have mentioned if it was maybe not the gunfire, but like the atmosphere would have been more similar to that. Only because we know plenty about reptiles. Obviously, if it's a reptilian species of like human hybrid, that's different. But I still think that you got to kind of factor that we do know that reptilians do need warmer temperatures.
Right. No, 100%. The temperature when I heard in that evolution, the thing that stuck out with me too was the temperature, because it was a thing where it's like, all right, so if you have some sort of biomass, whatever it is, some sentient biomass, you remember the movie Independence Day, where Data, because I'm not going to call him Brent Spinner or whatever his name is, or that's Data. All right. He was saying that their biology, the aliens, was not so dissimilar from our own, right? Well, I think maybe that's the case with whatever's down there. So, that's one of the things when I hear about the Antarctic stuff, if it is as purported by some over the ice wall where it's a tropical climate, then that would make sense with the reptilian thing. But the temperature thing, that did give me pause too. That's why when I saw this, I was like, this kind of flies in the face of some of the theories about what's down there.
Right.
But still find it very interesting when you connect it up to some of the expeditions that have been down there, the Admiral Byrd stuff, the treaty, all very suspicious. Okay.
Yes.
So let's move on to another thing. So the idea now, first of all, one of the things that really made this take flight in recent history, which is an oxymoron, is it's either David Icke or David Icke. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. It's ICK.
I think it's Ike.
Ike.
I think
Okay.
I've heard David Icke.
Okay, so he's massive in the conspiracy world. But the thing is, he's one of those people that is lovely to talk to because he's very well read, and he gives no shits. Like when you talk to him, I've seen interviews with him where he'll have a whole audience of 100 people laughing at him and his ideas, but because he's so just like I don't care that you guys are laughing at me. Here are the and he'll start dressing down the facts and everything else, and by the end of it, everybody's listening to him like kindergartners at story time. It's very interesting, but he wrote a book back in the late 90s that touched on this and it was called The Biggest Secret, right? But the problem, and this is one of those weird association things that I can't get on board with this, because they were saying that he is incredibly anti-Semitic in what he was purporting through this book about there being lizard overlords. And he was saying that they do consume human flesh, which actually we're going to tie into the very last thing that we do here. And they drink blood. Well, there is a theory about a cult of Jewish, a Jewish cult that drinks the blood of Christian children, right? And so somebody knew that fact, and they tied it into his book, and they said, "Oh, you're being anti-Semitic," to discredit it. But it's just like, you're taking this thing all the way over here and bringing it to here to paint it as something that it's not. And for years he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. This isn't even A and B. This is A and the number 12. Like they're vastly different numbers, right?
Right.
So he's one that I would highly recommend. And I had some videos of his that I wanted to bring to this, but we'd be here for 3 hours. So I would just highly recommend looking into David Icke. Very interesting to listen to him and the facts that he puts out. All right.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I thought was incredibly interesting is, that this idea that there are lizard people in power, and touching back to what evolution said at the beginning is very on point. The people that are in charge are out of touch. They're weird. They move oddly. Like if you saw the Clintons doing the Macarena when they were on the campaign trail, it wasn't even cringy. It was just like, yeah. But I have a top 5 list here of people that are believed to be lizard people. Now,
bring it on.
But before I get into that list, I do want to say people take this shit seriously. There was a guy in New Zealand that was so sure that their prime minister, John Key, was a lizard person that they filed an official FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request, and he had to legally answer it.
Wow.
In public. So I'm just saying, for our listeners, if you're pretty convinced that Kamala or Trump or somebody file a FOIA, they're going to have to deal with it. All right, so we're going to go from number 5 up to number 1. So at number 5, and I did a lot of research over the last few days. This is what I've found. All right, at number 5, this is an older name, but Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. Now, he is believed to be a lizard person because Louis C.K. called him an old flesh-eating lizard person in public for years and would not let it go. And I think even at one point it was somehow interviewing him and would not drop it, to the point where Rumsfeld lost his shit. So Rumsfeld's number 5. That's a weird one. This next one, though, I would love for you guys to comment on.
His nose.
Oh, Rumsfeld is creepy as shit. He's like that Klaus Schwab. All right. Klaus Schwab to me he's Dr. Evil and lizard person wrapped up into one.
Hmm.
Now, actually, okay, shit. Before we get into this, have you guys seen images of the Vatican's main congregation chamber where the Pope sits on that creepy throne with that weird shit behind him?
Not sure.
If you pull up images of that building, it looks like the head of a snake.
Wow, it does. No kidding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you find that jukebox?
Is that not it?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's where the Pope sits, yo.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It looks just like it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mhm. And if you look at the carvings and imagery behind, there is nothing holy about any of that shit.
Let me see if I can find the carvings.
Yeah, the carvings behind the throne. It looks like something out of, if you ever saw the movie The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves,
Hmm.
when Al Pacino is standing at the desk and you have the hellscape scene writhing behind him, it looks a lot like that. It is.
Yeah, I would say that this is pretty creepy.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that's what our Pope sits in front of.
Yeah, you can see him right there.
Yeah,
Wow. That's crazy.
What's that?
yeah, in the
Is that-
snakehead chamber, guys.
Yeah.
That's wicked. That's wicked.
Like
That's crazy.
This is out there in public. We see this, the snakehead thing, and we're just like, nope, couldn't possibly be.
That's weird. It's like it looks like, I'm guessing,
Lizard people.
like God's face, but like the way his hair is shaped, it looks like something else.
If you look at it from the side, it looks like
Yeah, that's crazy. And the bot like that, yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's weird.
Again, what you call conspiracy theorists are people like me who see shit like this and we're going, okay, I notice patterns.
Right.
All right. So moving on. So the number 4 on this list, and I want to hear you guys' comments on this. I'm just going to pull back from it. It is a group, the royal family in England.
I'm gonna see if I can pull it up.
Because there have been a few things that have happened, especially very recently, that have.
Oh, you can't look up anything. It won't show you anything. It just shows you a bunch of reptiles.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying, guys. How
Google
odd
one
that
of
the
this.
subject that so many people talk about. Oh, there's nothing out there. Sure, Google.
Yeah, I literally typed in Royal Family England reptilians, and all it shows is like lizards and reptiles and where you can buy them.
Yep.
Wow.
So there was recently, and then I do want to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Is when the Queen died and the Prince was made king, there was something that happened, and it was on the news for a bit, and it popped around, and then it just disappeared. And I looked for it. There's a video of the procession going along, and there were people in the chamber that, as this procession, that they wouldn't show on camera, they looked terrified because you see them doing like this, and then they look and they, what could they have possibly seen walking along with these royals that made them react? And it was more than one person.
Is there videos of it out there?
There were. I haven't been able to find them, but it's, if you guys can find them, man, it's one of those things you look at and you're just, by being human, when you see humans react in that manner, you're like, something fucked up has transpired. Right. And it's not a look of, oh, look, it's, whatever famous person, it's Bob Dylan, or whoever it would be walking along with the royals. It was something that terrified these people, but to the point where like they were terrified, but they're in a position where they can't say shit. It's the weirdest thing. It's like you see abject terror and then just choking it back. I'm choking it back. that was the
Right.
situation.
Wow.
So, royal family. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you talk about wealth and power and the reptilians being involved in it. I mean, that makes sense that people would suggest the royal family. I mean, they're high up on that list. I don't know. I don't have enough images on them to really be able to kind of get my own perspective. But I'd be happy to look into it.
Well, one I'll tell you to look up is look at the doubled image of the new like creepy Vigo from Ghostbusters 2 fucking painting that they did of King Charles, where they took the image and put it beside each other. And oddly, just coincidentally, there's the image of the goat god Baal. So weird. So weird. All right. So number 3 on the list, he is an American president. Who do you think it might be?
Barack Obama?
Close. I would have thought that too, but it's not.
What do you got?
Trump.
Trump. And again, another good guess, and I've heard that before. No, if you think back to all the controversy surrounding this guy, George W. Bush.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, George W. Bush, with presiding over one of the events in our history that changed the landscape of how this country is run, how our with 9/11, the saying that it was an inside job, which actually 9/11 is going to be one of the very near future podcasts that we're going to do for Blurred Lines.
Okay.
But yeah, George W. Bush. All right. Number 2, I found to be it. This actually rubbed me the wrong way because I've always been a fan. So I don't know if this is something that has been used to detract this lady because of all the good that she did. But I would like you guys to take a guess at who number 2, and I will give you a hint. It's a lady, and she obviously was very powerful.
Queen Elizabeth.
Okay, very good guess. What about you, Evolution?
Princess Diana.
Bing, 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 bing.
Nice.
100%.
Nice.
Good job, dude. All right, so why did she come to mind for you? Because that's a curiosity. Because when I saw this, I was like, dude, there's no way. She was over here is where I was with it. So why you?
She was very different, and the way she ended up losing her life was very questionable. It was like she was offed for a specific reason, and they covered up the reason, but that's what we got. I just think that either she knew something or she was a part of something that maybe she threatened to expose, and they silenced her.
Right.
And that it's funny that you say that, and that is another whole Blurred Lines that we can do on her in that situation. But when I saw her name pop up to the point where she hit number 2, I was like, it makes sense if you take the theory and that let's use some creative nonfiction with it. Let's say she was a lizard person, right? But she turned and she was going to expose everything. That's why she died in the tunnel, right?
Right.
Like that's one of if she was that thing and she was part of the cabal, but then all of a sudden, it's very strange, right?
Right.
But interesting because she was the people's sweetheart. She was the people's princess, right? So then to turn around and say, "Oh no, she was a lizard person." It's like those two things just almost can't exist in the same world because she was so beloved, like more than Mother Teresa. Right? It's So all right. So now we're to number 1. This one made me laugh because I saw the interview about this. Who do you think the number one person that people swear he's a lizard person?
Michael Jackson.
Good guess. Listen, you gonna go 2 for 2?
Uh, uh, I don't know. I'm kind of blank on that. There's so many possibilities. I have a question first.
Okay.
Were they in sports or were they in politics?
Not sports and politics, not really, but definitely messed with that arena.
So,
And when I say this name, you're both going to go, "Oh fuck yeah!"
Okay.
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 There's nothing for you to be worrying about.
Actor.
No.
Okay. I got nothing.
Neil
Mark
deGrasse Tyson.
Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg. Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I can see it. I can see it.
See?
Yeah.
If you see images of him with his creepy, they've accused him of being a cyborg. They've accused him of being a lizard person. And I saw the interview where somebody was like, okay, and he's like, I'm not a lizard person. And it's like, well, that's exactly what a lizard person would say.
Right.
Yeah. But he hears it all the time that he's either a robot or a lizard person.
He apparently
That's-
even made
yeah.
he apparently even came out on YouTube talking about how he's not one.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's like that's how prevalent it is. That was when I was researching this stuff. That was one of the top things that popped up is that Mark Zuckerberg's a lizard person. Like it's so prevalent. Even Google's like, we can't fucking hide this.
He is different. He's different. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's
And his wits are unmatched, right? This guy's a brilliant genius, and he comes up with stuff that nobody else can
Right.
kind of.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. He's brilliant, but at the same time, I will say that, if you watch the movie Social Network, there's a bit of thievery that happened. Like, he lost his lawsuit to the Wonder Twins, whatever the hell those guys' names were. Facebook was not an original idea. I will go on the record and say that because I can't get sued because it was proven.
Right.
But all right, so we're over the hour, and I think this is the prime time to show this next thing. And this is actually what we're bookending it, because this is what we ended part 2 of this series with, is one of the major theories that's out there is that there are lizard people on this planet, and we, even as much as we don't want to think it, are cattle for them. We are their food.
I've heard this theory many times.
Right. Okay. That we are their food. And you're like, oh, that could never be. It's like, well, how the fuck do you think cows feel? Like, we have the mountain pens in fields. We drive by and we're like, ooh, filet. I know I do. I love me a tasty filet, right? And I don't think anything of it. I always feel blessed that, we have the ability to have food like that, but that's the reality of our food chain. And for us to think that we're at the top of everything is a bit, that's a lot of hubris, right? Like, there are things, like you were saying, Jukebox, earlier, like the vast universe. All right. There are probably things out there that look at us like we're nothing more than a bagel bite, right?
Right.
So if you consider that as something that is a possibility, this next graphic that we're going to pull up is the missing persons, all right, where they've basically put a pin in the missing persons, that they just disappear.
Yeah.
And right below it, the major cave systems in our country. And the theory that the lizard people live underground, take that fact, match it up with the missing persons, and take a look at this cave map.
Can I throw a quick curveball that kind of still relates before we do this? Have you heard of the group, the Phantoms? Are you familiar with that? So if you're into like the conspiracy stuff, the Phantoms is an international group of special forces that are handpicked from each nation's like top military personnel
Mhm.
to hunt paranormal and hunt like these beasts and these monsters. This might be a good show to kind of to do. Um,
Ooh.
and there's been whistleblowers and people that have came out and been interviewed talking about being a part of it. But if we have these forces that handle those kind of things, then there must be something out there that we are definitely not on the top of, and we
Mhm.
make some sort of an alliance. Like, hey, you let us be, and you guys do what you got to do. We're just gonna look the other way. So I
Mm.
totally believe that this is a very realistic answer.
Dude, look up the 4-minute presidential video. That's all I'm gonna say.
Is that what it's called?
Talking
The
about
4 minute?
that, the 4-minute presidential video.
Okay. All right. Let me pull up this map. Let's see. I'll try and zoom in here. Let's see. All right. So it says the top shows mysterious cases of people vanishing. The bottom it shows America's largest cave system, and this is not looking good at all. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Oh, let me.
It's okay. For those that are listening, we're having some technical
There we go.
issues. And there we go. All right, Evolution. What do you think, man?
So the top are missing cases.
Yep. And the bottom is the cave systems, or are the cave systems.
Huh. Interesting.
Isn't it?
Especially on the right side.
Yeah.
It's almost perfectly aligned.
You know what is crazy is that why is there so many more cave systems in our smaller mountain range than in our larger mountain range?
My honest opinion on that is I think there are cave systems in the larger mountain ranges, but I think those have been kept secret from us. If you think to where like we have a lot of bases and things where, you know, if there's an emergency that the, you know, top people go and fly to Denver, that area, you know, all that stuff's out there, right?
Yeah,
it's not on the East Coast.
Yeah,
I
because this
will.
other. Go ahead.
Excuse me. I will
Don't
say
die on
this.
the
I will,
Are you choking on human flesh, Evolution? All right, we're
No.
revealing too much.
No, but I will say this. It looks like we're safe in Kansas.
Yeah.
but everywhere else, East Coast, West Coast,
Say it's freezing up.
South, yeah, they have issues.
I do though. I think that's a good point to throw out there though. Like, I mean, I know that mountain range is at a lower elevation than the other one, but you're talking about a vast difference. And like you pointed out, that's where a lot of the government goes for like escapes is west. So the Rocky Mountains should have a lot more than what you're seeing.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. But again, it's one of the tragedies of our human existence is, you know, that it is so short, right? And if we were around for long enough, we would learn, I believe, about things like this, and we would be able to have better connection to our history, know actually what's going on instead of what's being shoved down our throats. You know, the flat out lies that we are taught in school, right? You know, and by the time we start to figure this stuff out, you know, we're gone. And then the next generation has to come up and they learn it far too late. And the cycle just perpetuates itself. And the people that are in power keep, you know, foisting these lies. And it's amazing that we buy them, you know, and it happens, you know, it's happening today. It's just like, and this isn't even like, I'm not going one side or the other with a political issue, but it's just like with Kamala Harris saying that, you know, she had scheduled a trip weeks and weeks and weeks ago. She couldn't meet with Netanyahu. She didn't schedule that trip to that sorority until like a couple weeks after the Netanyahu thing was announced, and was caught in a lie, and nobody says anything about it. Anything. And I'm not sitting on one side or the other. It's just like, here's a perfect example in video, in print, lied about it. And it's like, they do it all the time. So if they're going to lie about something that small and so obvious, where we can pull up the thing and go, this is bullshit. We know it's bullshit. You're lying right to us. That's a tiny thing, a tiny thing. So you don't think they would lie about stuff like this?
Well, and I know I've touched about this on one of the previous episodes, but I do think there is a factor of a good portion of civilians shouldn't know some of the things that exist because they can't handle it. I still believe that. Like, I think riots, outbreaks, like just any reason to do that, I think that there's a level of secret that needs to stay hidden, or at least up for speculation.
Okay. I'll grant you that the NPCs of the world, they are abundant. Okay. But if you have reasonable people like the three of us sitting here, you know what? Invite us into a meeting. Be like, look, we know you know that we know that you know. You're right about all of it. All right. $5 million. Keep your mouth shut. All right. Fine.
So they gotta buy us. They need to buy us off.
Be like, find some other topics and talk about other things on your show.
No, next on Blurred Lines, cat fashion shows.
But think about it. I mean, when they announced about aliens existing, nobody gave a shit. That should have been more of a reason for them to just release some more information.
Yeah.
Thank you. They said aliens exist, and the whole fucking country went, and
nobody cares. I mean, we do, but we don't. We all know.
Exactly.
I do feel like there would be like if there has to, if the reptilian race is being hidden from us, then there has to be a reason why they're being hidden, and it's got to be nefarious. It can't be good. There has to be some,
because
they covered up for a reason.
They have this delicious taste of human flesh in their system that they can't ignore. They have to keep them isolated from the public, and just randomly find homeless people who are,
you're not far off, dude. And the thing is, like, and on a more serious note, if you take away the sexual component of it, the trafficking industry, right? All around the world, thousands and thousands just gone every day, right?
Yep.
If this actually is a thing, all right, and to our listeners, we're not saying that it is, we're not saying that it isn't, we're just spitballing here,
right?
But if it is, I mean, then you're looking at basically people collecting cattle for the slaughter.
That's what we do. That's what we do, though. I mean, can we be mad at them? That's what we do.
Yeah.
We're animals. We're not. I mean, when you break it down, we're an animal.
Well, and just because we can talk and reason and make jokes and shit, we think other life forms are so far beneath us, but then all of a sudden we're starting to find out that, like mushrooms, as an example, their roots, they use a connected network underground and they communicate with one another.
Yeah.
Like communicate with one another. We don't know shit about shit. We know nothing of the world that we live in. Right.
It's such a small percent. That's for sure. It's a very low percent. Like we haven't even hit 2 digits.
Right. Okay. So guys, we're at an hour and 15 and, we don't want to belabor the point and stuff here. So let's go with closing thoughts. Start with Jukebox. What do you think, man?
I think I've said what I wanted to say throughout the show. I think that there's a very strong possibility that they exist. I can't prove it, can't deny it. I don't want to swing either way because I do believe that there are other races. So it'd be stupid to not think that there's a reptilian race, and are they hiding underneath us? Possibly. Are they out in plain day? Yeah, sure, probably. But I have there's not enough evidence for me to be like, yep, that's a reptilian. Like even the evidence that you showed today, it's like, yeah, I believe that it's not human, but I don't, again, I can't sit there and say it's reptile. So that's my final thing. I think that this very strong possibility.
Cool. All right. Evolution.
Okay, I'm gonna go this route. Through science and technology, we have a lot of things that are developing, like sicknesses and germs and viruses and all this other crap that's coming about out of who knows where. And there are a lot of secrets that this country hides from us. Secret
No, company's right.
Yeah. Both. Companies, countries hide from us. Hidden societies, you name it. There are things out there that are away from the public eye for whatever reason, and it could be one of those things or lizard people. You don't want to walk out in the dark in the forest or you come up missing. You don't want to walk out in the light in the south. She might come up missing.
Just walk out.
Things happen that are unexplained, and I'm sure somebody knows what's going on. They're just not telling. So I would say that, is it possible? Yes. Do I have proof? No. But the things that you displayed today do bring up the question, could it be? So that's where I'm at.
Right on, man. Well, I'll tell you, I think my two biggest things like the video with that Secret Service guy is pretty disturbing, like very uncanny valley. But I think the things that bothered me the most were the missing persons comparison, but also the snake chamber of one of supposedly the holiest places on earth.
Right.
And then you see that backdrop that in all of the lizard people rumors that surround the Vatican and stuff. But the fact that then that's made like that, and then that backdrop bugs the shit out of me. But hey, you know what? As with anything on this podcast, folks, first of all, thank you, Evolution and Jukebox, for joining this ride. I always love doing these things, guys.
Yeah.
Guys that are listening or watching, thank you for being with us. And as always, question everything. Don't take anything that I say because it's all bullshit anyway, right? This is all for entertainment purposes only.
Right.
But in closing, thanks again, everybody. Check out msh.com, Black Label Chronometers, Redemption Brand, Cametus products, myvibe.com. Check out all the new shows that are on JG's Lounge. And what was the recent one that you got going again?
Consistently inconsistent.
Check that out consistently.
All right. Thanks for having us on, man.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
See you, everybody.
See ya.